Today on The Hangout, we got to break down the kids in the West, the Kings, DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay. They also get Rajon Rondo. And we got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, finally healthy. They've got Durant and Westbrook firing on all cylinders. Can they get back to the finals? And as always, we got to round up your Toronto Raptors, who kicked off their 21st season here at the ACC against the Indiana Pacers. Coming up next, Hangout! Basketball fans, we are at the ACC right here in downtown Toronto, the greatest place on earth, out front of the Real Sports Apparel store. I am Akil Augustine. I am the host of The Hangout, Canada's home for talking hoops. And I got to introduce you to our guests. As always, he is the right hand to my left hand. He's also, I don't know what to say about your hair this week. What is that? Is that the Liam from Oasis? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I guess it's British pop star if that's,
all right.
that's the direction you want to go.
Famous
what are we
British
your
pop
hair?
star Dan Gladman. This is the
sandpaper.
Yeah. And what's yours? This Marlon Palmer, local comedian. I'm calling you local comedian because I want to make fun of you. You've been making fun of me the whole morning.
Nice T-shirt, man.
All right, Marlon. We don't want you on the show ever again. We're gonna introduce someone else.
Seat's empty.
Dave Mendonca.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you for coming. Your first time on the show.
Yes,
Good
sir.
looking out. And
Thank you.
the thing about Dave is Dave wrote a book. I don't know if you guys can see this right now, but it's 100 Things Raptors Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. We both have copies. Dave.
Yo.
What's the one thing that stands out to you about this book? What's the one thing I should do before I die or know?
It's probably the most controversial one.
Okay.
Chant "Let's Go Raptors" at a Leafs game.
Actually, they've done that, haven't they?
They have. They
Yeah.
have. But there's
Okay.
many who haven't, right?
Hey,
So-
all right. Hey, well, listen, you want to find out more? We are giving a copy of this book away on Twitter. Follow at NBA TV Canada. And when you watch NBA TV Canada, you hear a lot about the Toronto Raptors.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to break down the
Sweet.
Toronto Raptors season opener at the ACC against the all-powerful Indiana Pacers. Or not. But
Right.
it didn't look good in the beginning. They got down early. Dan Gladman, you, of course, were producing the broadcast. What was the feeling in the truck when you saw the Indiana Pacers take an early lead before the Toronto Raptors took the game 106-99?
Well, I mean, it wasn't an interesting game in that first half. It wasn't.
It was if you're a Pacers fan.
Well, not really. It wasn't like the Pacers were doing much either. They were getting a couple easy baskets on turnovers. But, I think the Raptors particularly just needed to ease their way into the season. They're really focused on defense, and they came out, and Jack Armstrong said it on the broadcast. Their defense was fine in the first half, and then somehow in the second half, the offense came together, and they came out with a nice win.
I've been at camp talking to these guys, and one thing they've rarely ever talked about was offense. And so you could kind of see that in the way their sets ran. They kind of relied on what they did last year, which was Kyle and DeMar doing their thing. Were you comfortable with that, knowing that they spent so much time on defense in camp, Marlon?
I think defense is going to win you the games, and that's what we focused on last year. It brought us to 49 wins. So I think that's a formula that's definitely going to work. That's how Dwayne Casey usually works. So he's known for his defensive approach, and I think it's a good approach because mostly it was just turnovers.
Yeah.
Realistically, you take away the turnovers,
So
it would have been a...
So you threw out 49 wins. That's the litmus test for you. That's the marker. Are you expecting them to get around that this year?
I'm hoping for 51.
Hoping
For
but what do
51.
you expect?
I expect 47.
47.
Yeah.
Dan Gladman, what do you expect?
I think 50 is very ambitious. There's a lot of competitive teams in the East.
Okay.
I don't think the number's important. Just win the division.
Well,
again.
that's what I'm asking about
right.
the number. Dave, give me a number. The number's important when I ask about it.
I got to say 47 because you got to think it's been an overhaul of the roster, right? So those guys have to gel. It's going to take a little while. You know what I mean?
All right, so we're all saying at least a 45-win season for these Toronto
absolutely.
Raptors.
Definitely.
45 to 49, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Right.
47's a good round number.
That's the median,
all seem
right?
to agree on
that.
Right
Yeah.
in the middle. Okay,
Right.
well, look, another thing that you have to talk about when you talk about these Toronto Raptors and Dwayne Casey is the fact that this group still needs time to acclimate to each other because there's a lot of new guys, the Corey Josephs and so on and so forth. What's the most important thing for this group this season for you guys? Dave, I'll start with you. What's the most important thing the Raptors need to do to get to 49 wins?
Well, you know what? Everyone's got to buy into the defense.
I think they have. I think
that's for
the-
sure. Also, offense though, like 'cause in the first half of that game, the offense looked really out of sorts. It looked rinkety. There was really no rhythm to it. So I think once everyone gets to understand, okay, so Carroll, you could score this way, and DeMar and Kyle, you do that thing. Everyone's got to figure out their role offensively.
Speaking
You know what I mean?
figuring out roles, who's your four? Who's your power forward? That's been the question. That's what people are asking.
Right now, it's Scola. He started game one. He didn't score any points, but I think he had 8 rebounds.
Yep.
And
hey, but it's not who starts, who finishes.
He contributed. Well,
DeMar Carroll finished.
They won the game. That's all that matters. So
but you do also know you can't have Scola out there for 30+. I don't even think he can play 30 minutes.
he doesn't have to. But Patrick Patterson came in. You know what? He had a hot hand.
Yeah.
Hit a couple of great shots.
Finally.
And that, Biombo had some nice minutes too, although I guess he was kind of playing
he's the
center at that time.
They were swapping him and Jonas out back.
Yeah, absolutely. But, if it's Patterson or Scola, whoever's contributing more on that night is the guy who gets the minutes.
I want to send a special shout out to Jonas Valanciunas, 21 and 15.
Big.
Really showing out for a guy whose position is almost extinct.
They played him in the fourth quarter.
The key right there.
See,
that's a big
Played
deal.
him in the fourth quarter.
Like, have some confidence in the guy,
Well, it seems like they're showing it, Dan. I mean, your take on the minutes he got.
Well, what did we say? What did we say in Montreal? He could be the second guy in line to be an all-star for this team.
Except there's no center in the All-Star game, so he's gonna have to go into the power by the floor. That's his big problem.
Right.
But can he keep this level of play up?
He still could be one of the top big men in the Eastern Conference, and I mean that makes it a little murkier.
Paul George, Jonas Valanciunas.
A little bit of difference. But you know what? If Jonas, I'm not saying he's going to do 21 and 15.
Hopefully,
why not average 16 and 10? And those are all-star numbers for a big man. So I think we saw last night the biggest thing, other than that his defense has shown improvement. The team relies on him a little bit more. He's really now he's been around for such a long time. And Lowry is not afraid to go to him with the ball. DeMar will give the ball to him as well, and I think that's the key with him.
Okay, all right. That wraps up our Raptors Roundup. Still more to come here on Canada's Home for Talking Hoops. We got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kevin Durant has missed 250 days of basketball, but he's back, and so is Russell Westbrook. Can these boys take the Thunder back to the promised land? We'll be back with more Hangout.